We got Idaho in the house, New Jersey, Canada, Montreal, New Zealand. Fun fact, I've been to New Zealand.
In fact,
MTF.
New Zealand hasn't had a COVID case in months, apparently.
You guys are
Really?
open. Yeah, they're completely open.
They're crushing it.
Oh,
Wow. She's saying that they have had a COVID case.
Okay, last time I heard a few months ago, they were like completely open and they hadn't had a recent COVID case, but I guess that's changed. As you can tell, I don't really pay attention to the news much. Maybe I should do that more.
I don't know if you should do that more. I think we should pay attention to our own lives and just trying to be happy, positive individuals. I think the news is good to be informed, but it's also a really good excuse to feel like shit. Like everyone inherently their subconscious wants to feel like shit to make them comfortable because they're used to feeling like shit. And then you watch the news, and it's like, oh, perfect excuse to feel like shit. All this bad stuff's happening, and it's all the bad stuff is like really just clickbaity titles and exaggerated versions of the truth, and you don't even know what's true. I feel like the news is like a major reality TV show, and it's like just for viewers.
It's really is.
That's the problem with it, is that they're not incentivized to tell you what's actually happening. They're incentivized to get you to click and view, right? So I mean, we can go down this rabbit hole, but it's a big problem.
Bottom line, the news is, I just wish there was one news station that was like just the truth and you could trust it. But
Yeah.
You could find conflicting information on anything you find out there. You can find the polar opposite of what you read on one news station just by Googling the opposite of it, and you could find another news station that says it.
100%.
Yeah. They have the ability to cherry pick any sort of data they want and make it fit their narrative. It's some way we need to figure out a way to decouple the success of a news company with clicks, right, or views. It's just like if we can incentivize them by telling us the truth, somehow that would work.
This is certainly a rabbit hole that we could go very deep down. Before we do that, I think we're filling up here, so let's kick it off. If it's your first Zendrop live, welcome. We do this every Thursday at 7 p.m. for the most part. Occasionally we'll switch it up. We've tried other times. This seems to be the sweet spot. This is when most people get on, and we like when a lot of you guys show up because it's a lot of fun. We get a lot of good questions, and we get to interact with you. So if you want to interact with us, if you want to come up here and ask questions, you just raise your hand. It's in the participants area. There's a raise hand button down on the bottom of your Zoom screen. And yes, somebody just raised their hand. If you raise your hand, we'll call on you in the order that it was raised, and you can ask us anything. So we'll typically start with a topic, but we really go down a lot of different paths, and we kind of get a pulse on what we think is most useful. But all these calls are recorded. They're all posted on our YouTube channel. They're all sent out via email, the replay. So if you missed part of it, if you joined late, you could see the beginning. Other than that, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat box or in the questions Q&A section. Lastly, I have two kind of obnoxious dogs that tend to bark often, and they're coming home from daycare very shortly, so they're going to probably interrupt us. So bear with my dogs. So today we want to kick it off with kind of, I think, a really good overarching area to think about is where should you focus on a day-to-day basis? When you're running a business, there's so many different places you could put your attention. In e-commerce, you can put your attention on finding products, on running ads, on your support, on your website, on your color scheme, on your domain. You could do it. You could put your attention on your social media. You could put your attention on learning ads. You could put your attention on trying to hire people. I mean, there's not infinite, but there's a lot of places that you can put your attention. And oftentimes, especially before you get in a groove, and even when you do get in a groove, you don't really know where to put your attention. You don't know what to outsource and what to focus on yourselves. And in order to grow your business, in order to scale, and in order to do more of what you're doing, eventually you do need to outsource certain things, right? But a lot of people tend to focus on the wrong things. And at a high level, a lot of people focus on skepticism. They focus on why things aren't going to work, right? Who here is still skeptical? Not about the business model, but who here like still doubts that they could, and be honest, be vulnerable. Who here still has a little bit of doubt in their ability to have success in this model? I'm just curious. Give me something in the chat box if you can relate. Give me a me. Okay, a lot of people. And you know what? That's normal. It's totally normal. I felt the same way. And I think anyone who has ever had success in anything has felt that way before. And the key is just getting past that, is outperforming what you believe to be true. And when you're trying to outperform it, when you're trying to like figure out how do you get to the next level, there's so many things to focus on, so you don't know what to focus on. So I wanted to start off this call with where your head should be focused on a day-to-day basis. And then kind of once your business gets going, where your focus should move to. And we talk about this a lot, and I'm not going to stop talking about it, because no matter how many times I say it, you're going to go read something, watch something, do something, and you're going to start focusing on other things, and that's fine. But I'm going to keep drilling it because I feel like it's our duty to give you guys the truth. And where if your focus is in the right places, your business is going to excel. Now, drop shipping specifically is the most amazing business model there is. I say, my opinion, it's the best. You can scale it as big as you want. You can work as much as you want. You can work as little as you want. You can do it from anywhere. You could sell anything to anyone, anywhere in the world. It's an amazing business model. And it doesn't really take much knowledge or startup capital to do it. Whereas if you wanted to open a gym or a spa, or if you wanted to build a brand, or become a consultant, or any of these other models, they take startup capital, they take time, they take resources. With drop shipping, you can move quickly and you can do basically anything. So with that said, where should you focus? What is the single thing to focus on that's going to get you furthest along? Well, what's important to note is that most things you do will not work. Okay? Let that sink in for a second. Most things that you try will not work. It's the luck of the draw when it comes to dropshipping. And when I say most things you try, what do I mean by that? I mean, most products that you test won't work. Okay? Take that and eat it and absorb it and digest it. Most products you test won't work. Okay? So with that said, your focus should be on testing products. It should be on testing as many products as you could, because simple math, if 1 in every 20 products that you test works, and you test 100 products, you're going to have 5 winning products. And what could a winning product do for you? Well, 1 winning product could certainly change your life. It could certainly give you enough money to outsource some of your business. It can give you more money to test more products. And it could actually, like for me, the first winning product I ever found, I made millions of dollars with 1 product. And there's been multiple products that I've done 7 figures with, and probably 15 to 20 products I've done 6 figures with. So finding a winning product is key. But to find a winning product, you have to be in the mindset of testing. So what you want to focus on a daily basis is testing products. That is where your focus should be at all times. A lot of you guys are going to be like, testing products that's the work. You're going to want to go set up your LLC, or like answer your customer support inbox, or you're going to want to go play with your website. Listen, it's important stuff, but testing products is much more important. And if you can come up with a system, and you can get organized, and you can come up with 20 products to test, and you can come up with a game plan of how you're going to test. And we have people asking, how do you test right now? And we can tell you how to test. If you can come up with a game plan, it gets a lot more simple. It just becomes do step A, do step B, do step C, do step D, E, F, G, and so on until something hits. So your focus should be on building the infrastructure to test products. So finding products on spy tools, on Facebook, on Instagram ads, looking at what other successful stores are selling, coming up with things that you think might do well, and compiling a list, going into Zendrop, adding them to your store, and then deploying. I love the lazy man testing method because it's really simple, but there's a lot of testing methods. But set a budget. Maybe you want to spend $50 testing each product. And I'll be clear, the more you spend on a product to test it, the higher chance you have to crack it, but you get a diminishing return on how much you spend. So take that for a second. If you spend $50 testing a product and it doesn't work, the odds of you spending another $50 on the product and it not working get slimmer, and then the next 50 gets slimmer. So your chance of finding some success is greater in the beginning when you're testing. Now, if you have a much bigger budget, or if you're testing a lot of products and you have a few winners, maybe you want to expand that to $100 per product, or 150 or 200, because then you'll have better odds of each product being a winner. But you get a diminishing return the more you spend on each product. So your goal should be to test as many products as you could. My dogs have just returned from daycare, so they're about to cause a fuss here. Sorry about that. Hey, you can, I'm on a call. You can just leave them there. Thank you. Okay. So Brad, do you want to bring up the thing you love to talk about so much? The theory, the concept that you like to talk about so much. What was it called again?
The theory is called the Plateau of Latent Potential. Essentially, what it is it's wrapped into what Jared's talking about. It's essentially like managing your expectations. So it's called some fancy term, right? But we can break it down into simply managing your expectations. So all of these things that you're trying, if you have the expectation that 1 unit of effort, whatever that is to you, is going to equal 1 unit of output or return, that's totally logical, right? That's like, well, I put in 1 unit, I should get 1 unit out, right? But it doesn't work in a linear fashion that way. It's typically on an exponential curve, because all of the things that you're learning and all of the momentum that you're building up takes a little bit of time to get off the ground. And so there's, in reality, what's actually happening is your expectations are higher than reality, right? And so what does that equal? That typically, if you don't understand that concept going into it, that's going to lead to you giving up, most likely, right? Because if your expectations are here and your reality is here below that, your logical brain is like, well, why would I continue to do this, right? Because you've got your expectations at this level, and what you're actually doing is you're learning a lot, but you haven't quite broken through and found that success. So your logical brain is like, well, why would we continue to do this, right? But if you go into the process managing your expectations and realizing that it's going to take some time to get off the ground, you can continue to push through what's called, in this example, the valley of disappointment, right? Which everyone goes through. It's not something that's like specific to dropshipping. It's not something it's just a concept that happens in every facet of life, whatever you're trying to do. If you're trying to develop a meditation practice, you're trying to develop, a weight loss routine, whatever you're trying to do, you have to manage your expectations, because when you initially start, you're not going to see the results you might think you see.
So in terms of drop shipping, every product that you test that is a failure, you're going to continuously get more and more discouraged while you think you're supposed to be getting better results until one of them takes off and the results you get are way higher than what your expectations were. And the next product takes off and now you're going at an exponential fashion. So the moral of the story is every time you're investing your energy into testing a product, you're getting more and more discouraged when it doesn't work until it does work. So developing the discipline to keep doing it is key. And also, a lot of people answered me when I said, who's skeptical of this actually working for them? A lot of people said me. Being able to switch, being able to take those thoughts that you have and then switch them out with thoughts of confidence or excitement. If you're going to replace your fear, because it's all just fear, right? It's like, oh, if I do this, it doesn't work. It's fear at the root. If you're going to replace the fear with the excitement, that's what's going to keep you in the game. And we've coached hundreds of people when we did ecom hacks, and there's people that came into the program that had literally like all the knowledge you needed. Like they've taken all the courses, they watched all the YouTube videos, they've tested everything, they figured it out, but they were still skeptical. And they went into their days, hey, I'm going to dip my toe in, but I don't think it's going to work. And they would never break past. But there's people that came into the program that had no knowledge whatsoever. I mean, we had a 57-year-old lady who we're good friends with now that came in with zero knowledge, barely knew how to, manage her Facebook ads manager, barely knew how to use a computer, but she was so excited that excitement fueled her to keep going. But excitement is used as fuel, and fear is the opposite. It'll slow you down. So if you can start replacing that fear or that discouragement or the skepticism with being really excited, and to get excited, it's like, how do you just get excited? Well, you could think about like, there's millions of products that I could sell to millions of people. And if you could embrace that thought first thing in the morning, before you remind yourself of all the problems you have and, oh, that didn't work yesterday, and you become the same person over and over again. If you can wake up and be like, before I think about all the shit that's going on, because we all have problems, okay? And everyone thinks that their problems are the worst problems. But if you could wake up and before you remind yourself of all the shit going on and all the failures you've run into, and you could start your day by like, there are millions of products I can sell to millions of people, and I can do it all today. I can do anything I want to do today. If you can start your day with that thought process, that's going to give you the fuel that you need to keep testing and keep going until you break through and find that winning product.
So I think it's important to talk about what's actually happening in your business or your life or anything you're trying to implement doesn't match your expectations, right? The reason, the main reason why what's actually happening is not matching your expectations is because of the benefits of compounding effects, right? So what do I mean by that? Basically, you have a very logical brain, right? So it's thinking 1 unit of input equals 1 unit of output. But what you're not thinking about are all of the other externalities that are happening that create the results that you want. It's not like you make one Facebook ad and then the product takes off, right? Sometimes that happens, but the law of averages says that that's not going to happen for a while, right? And the reason why is because there are so many factors that go into creating a successful campaign that you can't think about right now because you don't know they exist, right? And so the only way to get there is through experience. And the reason why the curve is exponential is because you're exponentially getting better at that thing as time goes on. It's not in a linear fashion, right? Like at first you're fumbling around, right? You're really not very good at it. You're trying to like figure out how to even upload an ad, right? To Facebook or Instagram. And you're just fumbling around trying to get used to the platform, right? But as time goes on, you're learning more and more. You get more and more into the nuances of the platform and what's happening. And this is just specific to Facebook advertising. I'm not even touching on anything else. And as you do that, you kind of you tap into these different leverage points, right? Or maybe you find one thing that works really well, right? And that gives you a little bump. And then you find another thing that works really well, or because you tested 6 products and this didn't work, now not to try that again, and that's out of your repertoire, right? And all these little victories and learnings compound on themselves, and now you start to see the exponential growth. But you would have never gotten there if you didn't fumble into the first 6 products you tested. And you took the learnings from those first few products that you tested, and the learnings from that are what's now causing that exponential compounding growth. So that's the reason why this version of reality is not matching your expectations, is because your logical brain can't even comprehend. It doesn't know that all these externalities even exist. So it's logically just thinking, I put in 1 unit of input, I get 1 unit of output. But you're not considering all these things that you're learning along the way. So I just wanted to touch on that.
So guys, let's see some of the things that you're struggling with so that we can diffuse your struggles. And while you're typing that, type out in the chat box or in the questions, like, you know, what you guys need help with most, and we'll dive into it. But while you're, I'm sorry?
Or raise your hands. We want to come talk to you.
Raise your hand if you want to talk to us. But one more thing to note on that subject is, like, as Brad said, when you're making your first few ads, like, it takes a lot of energy just to figure out how to make the ads. And then when you're looking at all the data, you're using a lot of your energy to, like, what data am I looking at? Like, my cost per click, what does that mean? If I get a cost per click like that and go to my website and my conversion rate's this, it takes a lot of brain power. But the more you do it, the bigger muscle you build up. So, like, by the 5th time you go on your Facebook ad manager to launch an ad campaign, you're breezing through it. And by the 10th time you're looking at data, you're like, oh, I know exactly what to look for. So yeah, you get stronger and better as you keep going. And then that gives you more fuel to be able to test more products quicker, because you're not putting so much energy into getting things started.
And well, I mean, we could talk about this for hours. I think we really like talking about this stuff, but you know, you're not even thinking about opportunities that could come from this, right? Like, as you're doing this, you know, you could think of some other business opportunity while you're doing this, or another idea for a product, or, like, you know, maybe your friend has a company and they need a media buyer, and think that the positive externalities from you just starting a dropshipping store, like, land you in that position. The key is you just got to keep moving and moving fast. And good things will come out of it. Like, an object in motion stays in motion. So that's the biggest takeaway from this.
Absolutely. Guys, do we have any questions or things that you're struggling with, or things you need clarification on? People are asking testing. How do you test? I'll give you a quick testing method that I talk about all the time. So one testing method that I really like, that's really simple. And also, before I get into that, there's a ton of content in Zendrop Academy. Zendrop Academy is in your account. If you go on the top right and you click the little gear, there's a drop down that comes down, and then there's something that says Zendrop Academy. And we teach you, like, everything about Facebook ads. And it's not just me or Brad. It's like, we have Tim Bird in there, who's, like, you know, known as the godfather of Facebook ads. He's teaching about the algorithm. So go through that content, and it'll give you some ideas, and it'll, you know, you'll be able to keep developing knowledge. But one testing strategy that I really like, I call the lazy man testing method. And I call it that because it's, like, it's really easy to do, and it's, like, a cheap way to test, and it's easy to go quickly, so you're not thinking that much. So for every product that you're testing, so for one single product, you'll launch 30 ad sets. So that's 30 ad sets at a $3 budget each. Okay. So your first day, you launch 30 ad sets, $3 each. If after the first day, there's no view content on the ad, you kill it. If after the second day, there's no add to cart, you kill it. And after the third day, if there's no purchase, you kill it. And then after the third day, you look and you see, how many ad sets do I have left? Like, how many of them have had purchases? And if there's 5 or more, if you've gotten 5 purchases in that process, then you know you may have a winning product. Then you go on to testing different audiences, different targeting. Because when you're launching it at first, you're going no targeting. You're telling Facebook, hey, send this to everyone. And you're launching 30 ad sets at $3 each. So your ad sets are going to 30 little pockets of people as opposed to one ad set at $100, which doesn't have the same effect. And then what that does is it makes it really easy to launch a bunch of products, right? It makes it really easy to test. You don't really have to put much thought into it. You're not exerting a lot of energy on each product, so that when it doesn't work, you can just move to the next one. And you're not like, oh shit, I put all this energy into this product and it didn't work. So 30 ad sets, $3 each, US 18 plus, no targeting. First day, if there's no view content, and of course, if there's a purchase or an add to cart on the first day, you keep the ad set there also. But if after the second day, there's no add to cart or purchase, you kill it. And then after the third day, if there's no purchase, you kill it. And then if there's 5 or more ad sets that have purchases, then you go on to testing audiences, different budgets, and all the testing methods that you need from there are in Zendrop Academy. So you can go in and pick from there.
Awesome. Debbie wants to come up and talk, so I'm going to let her come on up.
It wouldn't be Thursday without Debbie asking a question.
Love it.
I actually have 2 questions, and it's in reference to the AliExpress. I've been doing a lot of, trying to find new products for summertime. And, a lot of times I'll do it on AliExpress. Now, my first question is, when you go to AliExpress and, you copy the link and bring it into Zendrop so Zendrop can use it, because I'll first look on Zendrop. If it's not there, I'll go to AliExpress. But on some of the products, it gives you the choice of, do you want it shipped from US or do you want it shipped from China or, wherever else? So when you copy the link and put it into Zendrop, I mean, do you know, or how do you know if somebody chose the US shipping choice instead of the Chinese, or do you just automatically figure it's China coming from AliExpress?
We don't use either. So all we're doing with the AliExpress importer is scraping the data from the AliExpress page for that product and sourcing it ourselves. So we have a fulfillment team and a sourcing team in China that sources that product and then brings it into the Chinese warehouse and ships it from China. So you're getting the same shipping times that are on the app. So you can use express shipping to ship it fast in like 7 to 10 days, or regular shipping for 10 to 20 days. But we're not working with that AliExpress supplier. So it doesn't matter if you select US or you select China. All we're doing is taking the information that's on that page and using it to source that product ourselves.
Okay, well then part B of that question is, like, for example, I picked a product and I'm going through all the AliExpress, like some of them might only have 4 colors and some of them might have, 5 colors and 6 sizes. So I will choose one. It may not be the best product. It may not have the most orders, but it's got a bigger choice for products in color and size that I'm looking for. So, I mean, does that become so that's what you go on, exactly what's on that link? Like it's got 6 colors, it's got 8 sizes and blah, blah, blah.
Yep. Yeah. So we're not concerned with how many orders it has, who the supplier is.
Okay.
All we're doing is taking the information from that page. So we're going to go off that sizing, off of the color variations, all the variants that are on that page.
And real quick to note, Debbie, so like if an AliExpress listing says it ships from the US, in most cases, it's actually not shipping from the US. They're just using a shipping line that puts a USPS label on the product.
Gotcha.
Kind of like our express shipping. It's not warehoused in the US and shipping from there. So if you select a product on AliExpress and ship from the US, it's not getting there in like 2 to 5 days as if it was in a US warehouse. It's just, they just say it is, and they put a lot of the things on AliExpress are very misleading, which is why we don't recommend using those suppliers.
Yeah, I mean, I just get the products from them and I copy and paste it into you guys and have you guys do it.
Yeah, just wanted to note in case anyone was wondering, because
all right, thank you.
Yeah. All right, Debbie, thank you.
So we have 2 questions in the question box so far. So Dan asked, the issue with me is more finding a product that gets to the customer in a timely fashion. I have been buried under customer service and fighting chargebacks. Have you guys improved the delivery issues to get the products to my customers on a timely basis?
So our shipping times now are really solid. I do know, obviously COVID last year was an issue for everyone. And then during Q4, you can always expect shipping times to take a little bit longer, even though ours were still pretty solid. I'm not actually exactly sure which shipping issues you're referring to, but if you use Zendrop and manage your customers' expectations, give them a shipping time frame in which their products will be delivered, you shouldn't run into any serious customer service issues.
Yeah, and also, so a couple things. If you were shipping during Chinese New Year, which we put all over the website, like, we don't recommend it. Of course, that would take a long time. But we're so confident in our shipping times that if you refund your customer, we refund you virtually no questions asked. Because we tend to kind of overpromise on shipping or underpromise on shipping times. Like, we'll say regular shipping is 10 to 20 days. It's always closer to 10 days. And express shipping is 7 to 12 days or something like that. So you just have to manage your customers' expectations. If you tell your customer it's going to be there in 5 days, then they're going to be upset. But if you say, the product is going to take 1 to 2 weeks to arrive, then their expectations are that it's 1 to 2 weeks to arrive. But if you ever run into an issue for something took too long to ship and you refund your customer, we'll automatically, for the most part, refund you as long as there's nothing crazy going on.
There we go. Liam asks, top book suggestions.
Get that one a lot. Brad, what do you think?
Yeah, so 3 off the top of my head. 1 I haven't read yet, but 1 is from like my favorite guy in the entire world. So I'm just gonna give that book as a suggestion, even though I haven't read it yet. He just made a podcast and mentioned this book, so I ordered it on Amazon. It hasn't arrived yet. It was literally yesterday, but that one is called The Beginning of Infinity by I believe Daniel Deutsch. So I'd highly recommend that one, just based off of the previous recommendations that this guy has given me. The second one would be Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. I could talk about that book for hours, but I won't go over it into detail here. I would just highly recommend it. And the third one would be Essentialism by Greg McKeown. 3 really good books.
I got a couple more too that I think are really good. And I'm always towards, like, I feel like our world is like full of so much external stimuli, so much news, so much noise. Like, social media is always chirping in your ear. You're always getting distracted, and then you're seeing all these people online that look like they're really successful, and you're always comparing yourself to them. And so I like to read, books that are more about, that are just about like your mindset and quieting your mind, and like The Power of Now is an awesome one, and The Untethered Soul is an awesome one. And it's like just reading something like that in the morning and like reminding yourself that you don't have control over everything. Because if you want to have control over everything, you'll drive yourself crazy. And I'm naturally like that. I'm always like, trying to remember everything in my brain and like not letting anything slip and try to control everything. But it's like, if you just kind of surrender to the universe and you're like, everything's going to happen the way it does, I can just do my best, and you stop caring so much, you can be happier. And then if you're happier, then your ideas are better and your interactions are better. And like, basically, if you're in a better mood and you have a business conversation, you're going to have a better outcome. You're going to be thinking more positively, and ultimately you're going to go further and faster and stronger. So it's actually the opposite. Like, we want to like control everything so we can go faster and do more. But what that does is it leads to stress and negative energy, which leads to negative thoughts, which leads to you thinking about an opportunity and being like, that's not possible. I mean, I get those days all the time where I'm like, nothing's going to work. This isn't going to work. That's not going to work. And it's like, why do I feel this way? It's, well, I'm so stressed. I'm thinking so much. I'm not stopping. I'm not taking a minute to breathe. I'm not just letting everything go. But when you do the opposite of that, you think it's like, oh, if I let everything go, everything's going to fall to pieces. It's actually the opposite. You let everything go and you get happier, you feel lighter, you feel less stressed. And then you think of an opportunity and you're like, oh, maybe they could work this way. You get in a conversation and you talk more creatively and more good output comes out of it. So I like the untethered soul and the power of now. Those are good ones.
That's really easy to get, like for the voice in your head to like put you down this like downward spiral of like you get so trapped in one way of thinking, and you literally think yourself into like a downward spiral. And like for me, like Jared and I were talking about this earlier today. Like we were both kind of off today, and we were just like talking about it and trying to figure out why. And I had like a kind of shitty start to my day, and then like towards the middle of the day, I was just like, you're gonna die one day. Like this is not that big of a deal. And that really for me like puts it into perspective. Like you're like none of the stuff that's happening to you right now is really truly that big of a deal, right? So that's I know that's a little bit glib,
but it leads to better thoughts, like letting go. Like if you read the book The Surrender Experiment, it's also written by the same guy who wrote The Untethered Soul, and it's actually a biography, an autobiography of his life. And from when he was like 17 years old, he made a decision that when anything came up, he was going to surrender to the universe and let it happen the way it wants to happen and not try to control it. And this guy goes from living in a van to meditating every day, to like becoming a professor, to like starting a meditation group, to like going into Radio Shack and like buying a computer because like he just surrendered. There's a computer there, I'm going to buy it. To like writing code, to like running into someone that asked if he can write them code, and somebody asked me, so I got to surrender and do it. And he wrote the code, and then he created a software company, and then somebody wanted to do something, so he surrendered and did it. And then long story short, he becomes a multi-billionaire owning a publicly traded company, and he's happy all the time. And it was the brainchild of surrendering to everything that came his way, which is the opposite of what we think we have to do. We think if we want to become a billionaire, or we want to have total freedom, or even to become a multi-millionaire, like we need to control everything. We need to know like everything that's going on. We need to make decisions. We got to control the decisions. But that just leads to more stress. And then stress is the enemy. Stress will tell you that this isn't going to work. This idea is not going to work. Dropshipping is not going to work. Like it can't work, because if it did, everyone would do it. Like you just start to have negative self-talk when you're stressed. But when you can let go and not care, or what Brad said, we're all going to die one day, not a big deal. You let off the stress, you stop thinking all the crazy thoughts, and then your thoughts become clearer and more positive, and you can see more opportunities. You could be walking through the mall and see a product and be in the right state of mind, be like, oh my God, like, why are they selling that at a kiosk? That needs to be sold online. But if you're in a shitty mood and you're stressed, you're like, why is that idiot selling this product in the mall? It's so stupid. It's like, it changes your whole reality. So from a book perspective, I like to read about this stuff, like not to gather the knowledge, but more so to like put me in the right state of mind. I like to read like 5 or 10 pages of a book like that in the morning. That just gets, I'm like, I go take a walk with my dogs and my fiance, and I'm like, I'm just gonna enjoy the walk. Like I know I got 400 things going on. I know I'm running a company with 22 employees, but I'm like, I'm just gonna enjoy the walk. Everything's gonna work out. And then when I'm walking, I'm like, ooh, I got a great idea. But if I go for a walk and the whole time I'm walking, I'm like, I gotta do this when I'm back. I gotta do this way. I gotta have this phone conversation. Shit, what if that doesn't go that way? Then I get back from the walk and I'm stressed. I sit at my desk and I can't even think. And I'm sure if you ask the people on the Zendrop team, when Jared shows up to a call, like you could tell when I'm a really good version of myself or a really bad version of myself. I try to be a good version of myself like 80 to 90% of the time, but it's human to not be. But the key is just not being stressed. Like that's the root of all success, is letting go of the stress. So that's
the surrender experiment. That's one I forgot. That if you guys haven't read that book, 100% should go on Amazon right now and purchase it and read it. It really puts things into perspective. You know, this guy literally, he didn't try to control his life at all. He literally did the opposite. He just let life happen around him, and great things happened. He just like took advantage of opportunities that like happened around him, without judging like whether or not this is going to work. He just kind of like went with the flow of life.
Yeah. And then you start to shift into a perspective that, you know, life's happening for you as opposed to against you. And that's when the real shit changes. That's when I'm in my best version of and it's not always like, but I'm far from perfect. Like I actually I have like a really noisy mind, and I require a lot of proactive approaches to making it quiet. I need to meditate in the morning. I need to read something good. I need to start my day off right, or it's really hard to get back on track. But another key that's pretty important is like, we all slip off track, right? We all, if we want to lose weight, we might slip up and eat a donut, but like, that doesn't mean you should keep eating donuts. It's like, just rebound, because we're all going to slip. It's normal to slip. It's normal to not be perfect. The key is just getting back on the horse and riding again. So if you can focus more on rebounding than being perfect in the long term, that's a better way to be, a better way to live.
Agreed.
From my humble opinion. Any other questions, guys?
Someone asked, can you describe a day in the life of a dropshipper? It's an interesting one.
Well, that is an interesting question, because if you watch a lot of these like day in the life, you know, people are trying to make their lives look like way cooler than they actually are. But the cool thing about having a successful dropshipping business is that your life could be whatever you want it to be. When my business first started taking off, I had an itch to travel. Like I really wanted to like just, you know, we all have different values in life, and one of my values is uncertainty. Like I like to go into the unknown. It makes me feel alive. So when I first started drop shipping in my business, first I put it on autopilot. I hired VAs, I hired media buyers, I put systems in place. And then my life was traveling. I went to Asia. You know, I was going to weird places. I went by myself. I'm an only child, so like I think I like being by myself naturally. So my life was going places by myself. And then I realized that I wanted to just focus on the simple things and just be happy and stress-free. So like I rented a condo on the beach and like spent my mornings like, you know, watching the sunrise and like coming up and you know, thinking about my business. So a day in the life of a dropshipper is like, that's such it could be anything. You know, if you love playing the guitar, you could play the guitar all day. Or, you know, but from a business perspective, it's really just about getting your business in order, getting your structure in order, you know, making sure your support team's on point, making sure you have a testing schedule, making sure there's a certain amount of products tested every day, but you can outsource most of it. So, you know, focusing more on the business than being in the business is the mindset you need to have if you want to be a successful dropshipper. You need to be able to focus more on building an infrastructure of a business. It is a real business. You need to be, the first person you should hire is somebody to come and take over your customer support. Someone to come and answer all the emails, because you don't want to spend your time, like most customers aren't emailing you to be like, oh my God, like just wanted to let you know I had a great experience. How many of you guys have bought something online and then emailed the company and said how great it was? You're only reaching out when you have a problem. And if you're answering all the problems, you're going to start to associate your business with problems, and you're not going to want to do it anymore. So the first person you want to hire is someone to handle all the problems that you don't want to handle, so you can focus on growing the business. The second person you want to hire is someone that can launch ads for you. So if you have someone handling all the problems and all the customer support, and then you have someone launching ads using your method that you've already proven out, then all you got to do is you have to see what's working, and then you have to put your attention on things that are working. So I think a day in the life of a drop shipper from a business perspective is looking at your business high level, making sure the support team is good, making sure orders are being fulfilled, making sure products are being tested.
Love that. What are some good daily habits you recommend?
Some good daily habits. Well, I think it's important to know that we all, like, I can tell you my morning routine and like it's good for me, but like you may be a different person than me. You may have different values than I have. You know, you may have a different time that you like to wake up that feels good for you. But some really good habits, I think, like at a high level, are starting your day being true to yourself. So if you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and you wake up and you're like, I'm going to sleep a little bit more. Like that's a really bad habit, because then you're letting your mind then you're letting your body control your mind. If you start letting your body control your mind, you're gonna go off and do all things that you don't want to do. So a good daily habit is being true to yourself. First thing, if you say you're gonna wake up and go for a run, and then you convince yourself that, my ankle's not feeling so good today, or I had a little bit too much to drink last night, I think I'm gonna do it tomorrow. That's a really bad habit, because that'll get out of control really quickly. So whatever it is that you want to accomplish, if you can be true to yourself first thing in the morning, even just making your bed and doing it from a state of excellence, like not just slopping the pillows on and like moving on to the next thing and like having a mess everywhere, like actually taking some time to like do something good and like being present is a great habit to have in the morning. But more specifically, I mean, getting up, drinking a lot of water, reading something good, going for a walk, clearing your head, not looking at the news, not looking at social media, not looking at your emails, not looking at the stock market. That's a big one for me. I got pretty big into the stock market like 6-7 months ago, and I thought I was like this freaking awesome stock trader, and now the market's taking a turn. So if I wake up and I look at the stock market and it's not doing well, like that feeling lasts with me for like 3 hours. And like 3 hours later, I'm like, why do I feel so freaking stressed today? And it's like, oh, because I woke up and the first thing I did was look at the stock market, and it left an impression on my energy first thing in the morning. So, getting out and not being, not being impacted by things that are out of your control that may or may not be good is definitely a good habit to instill.
Yeah. Things that make you feel good, number one, and that might be different for everyone. For me, it's meditating, drinking a lot of water, getting some exercise. I think that's typically anyone would feel pretty good from doing that, but like find what works for you and like make yourself feel good. Get yourself in like a high energy state, because that's where all your good ideas come from. That's where all your good productive behavior is going to come from. And then what Jared said, like staying true to yourself, that's honestly one of the most important things, for me included. I think for anyone, your self-esteem is just the reputation that you have with yourself. So if you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it, you're kind of like, you're taking a shot at your own self-esteem. Like you're making yourself feel worse. Now, not that you just didn't do the thing you were going to do, which probably is a good thing, right? You're not telling yourself you're going to do bad things. You're telling yourself you're going to do things like go for a run, work out, wake up early, whatever it is. So not only did you not do that, but now you've taken a shot at your self-esteem, because the thing that you told yourself that you were going to do, you didn't do. So the next time you tell yourself you're going to do something, you have less confidence in yourself that you're going to do it. And that stuff compounds on itself. It also compounds on itself in a good way if you can keep doing it. So it's a really, really important thing to stay true to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, think about someone like an Elon Musk, or like someone that's made a big change in the world. If you tell yourself that you're gonna go for a run every morning, and like 3 out of 5 mornings you don't go, eventually you'll stop believing that you're gonna do things that you say you're gonna do. So when you go to start a business or like go into an interaction and you're like, and someone's, you're making a deal and you're going to be a player in the deal and somebody else is, you're not going to believe in yourself to be able to do things for other people, because you can't even do what you want to do for yourself. But if you say you're going to go for a run every morning and you do it 5 mornings in a row, and then you have the opportunity to jump into a business venture, you're going to be like, oh, I like, not at a conscious level, but at a subconscious level, you'll be like, oh, I've done this for myself. I could do anything. So it's a self-esteem is a serious thing. And it's like, a lot of times we're searching for what to do. And we started off this call talking about like where to focus in your dropshipping business, but from just a daily perspective and life, and where I like to focus, and it's been a really big game changer for me to realize, is focusing on who you need to be to get to where you want to go, more so than what you need to do to where you want to go. So if you can think about the person that you want to become in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, and you could visualize who that person is, and you can feel what that person feels like on a daily basis, then the thoughts that you need to achieve those things will flow to you. But if you wake up and you feel like, like your old version of yourself, that's nothing like the person that you want to be, and you feel like that old version of yourself, you're going to keep getting the thoughts that bring you back to being that old person, the old version of yourself. So if you could just even take 10 minutes or 5 minutes in the morning and remember who you're trying to become and feel it, then you'll get the thoughts that you need to go there. And that's like, it's a very simple concept, but it's a really powerful concept.
I really love that. Any last minute questions, you guys, before we wrap up today? It can be about Zendrop, more testing methods.
Oh, looks like Debbie has her hand raised.
Me again. It's about Facebook ads. When I first started studying this, a lot of times they tell you to, for the target, to go for the 5 English-speaking countries, UK, US, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. Now, I just started with the US, just to see what happens and test and whatever. But I mean, do you have to do those separately? Because I'm in the pet product, so I'm like doing the dog magazines, dog thingies, and it comes up obviously with the US version, but I don't know anything about Australia or UK. So should I take my ads and copy them and do that just for Australia and just for UK and just for Canada and New Zealand? Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
You don't need to, but it's a good idea to, and here's why. If you group all those together and it performs a certain amount or a certain way, how do you're lumping in multiple variables into one group, right?
Right.
Ideally, you'd want to want to split those out to see, oh, it's performing way better in the US than in the UK. I wonder why. And then maybe you can dig into that and try to figure it out. Also,
Right.
You're selling product that has a plug or something where the product's the variant of the product's going to be different, then it would help to maybe send those to like different landing pages with the specific plug already selected, so that there was one less step. That's a thing also.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. But a lot of the classes that I took in the beginning were all like, oh, just pick the 5, English speaking countries. But then as we was getting into it, I'm like, well, like I said, I mean, you're going for a dog magazine in the US, obviously they may not know what the hell that is in Australia.
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm targeting,
Right. So that's my point, is like you could, but it's always better to break down as many variables as you can.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
No problem, Debbie.
All right, guys. I think we'll wrap this one up here. Thanks for joining us tonight. A little bit of a smaller group than last week, but thanks for joining. We always enjoy spending time with you guys, and we look forward to getting on the next one.
We'll see you guys next week.